today I'm going to be doing a really quick review on the Etude House Tiny Twinkle eyeshadow palette that I got. This is part of their 2018 holiday collection, and I got one of the palettes. They had 3 different color options. Mine is in the color called Silver Ornament. I think there was like a gold one and maybe like a bronzier one, but I will go through, show you guys all of the colors and let you guys know what I think about this eyeshadow palette and whether it's worth it or not. So first off, this is what the packaging looks like. I really like the really fun colors with it. It's kind of hard to read the writing on this type of glitter, but it is a super sparkly glitter palette, and it's very small. It's about, you know, the size of my hand, so I feel like it's a palette you could easily take with you. And in this palette there are 9 different colors. So it comes with the little overlay that tells you all of the names, and if I pull that off you can see those are all of the colors. Now these are a little bit smaller eyeshadows. Let me get a regular size eyeshadow to compare it to. So if I compare it to a regular size eyeshadow, this is like a 26mm size pan. That is about the size difference, so it's a little bit smaller. I'd say they're probably, you know, a little bit bigger than a dime. And of course it also has a little mirror in here, which I think is a really good size mirror. You can actually see your face to do your makeup, so I like that they included that. So in this palette I would say you get about 3 true matte shades, you get about 4 satin kind of slightly shimmery shades, and then you get these 2 kind of like foily looking shades. So those are the 9 colors that you get. Obviously all the colors are in a quite cool toned neutral kind of color scheme. I will also insert some swatches so you guys can see what the colors are like. Now, swatches are definitely a little bit of a hard thing to do because they don't tell the whole story when it comes to shadows. I've had some shadows that horribly swatch and they look great on the eyes and vice versa, so swatches are not the end all be all. I think it's good for getting an idea of the color, but not necessarily as good for getting an idea of how the shadow will perform, so just keep that in mind. So I will get into the application demo for this video and let you guys see how I created this look today. I will insert the English names of the eyeshadows that I'm going to be using. There are just the Korean names, and those are just hard to follow if you don't know Korean, so I'm just going to point at the colors I'm going to use. So I'm going to start with this one here, and I'm going to apply that to the crease. Definitely a little bit powdery at first, but so far this one is actually showing up about the color I expected it to. I feel like it's just a little bit on the sheer side, but I'm gonna take my time and see if I can build it up. Okay, so that is the shadow on this eye. Obviously this is the side without anything, so it did do something, but it is a little bit more of a softer, less pigmented shadow. Next I'm gonna take the one right below it. It's a slightly darker version of that color, so I'm gonna see if this one is a little bit more pigmented to try to deepen up the crease a bit. I'm gonna switch to a slightly smaller blending brush to see if I can get just a little bit more of a precise application with this one, because so far, although it did show up just a little bit, since those colors are so similar and they're a little bit on the softer, less pigmented side, they're not as super noticeable. Next I'm gonna use the darkest color here. I wish this one was completely matte, but it is not. It seems to be a little bit of a satiny finish one, so I'm not gonna put that one in the crease just because I don't like shimmers in the crease, but I'm gonna run this on the lower lash line. And I actually really like that color. That one is really pigmented, like that definitely showed up. Next I'm gonna take the super foily color here. I'm really excited to see if this is any good or not. My cat is freaking out. I feel like these types of colors are either where they really shine, no pun intended, or they just fall flat. Sometimes I find that they can be crumbly, but let's keep our fingers crossed and see how this one goes. Ooh, it's super soft. Yeah, like, and it definitely seems like it might be on the flaky side. And so I'm going to put that on the inner part of my lid. It doesn't really have as much color as I would have wanted. It's kind of coming out not how I wanted. Let me try my finger because I feel like that might make it apply a little bit better. Definitely applied better with my finger, and it's really sparkly, but it's definitely, you know, one of those flaky shadows. Yeah, like it definitely seems like there is not as much actual base color to it. Like there is quite a bit of sparkle to it, but it almost looks like a transparent kind of sheer base, and just really just the sparkle that's kind of showing through. So now I'm gonna try this center shade, and I'm gonna try a little bit of this on the inner corner. Again, it's got that same kind of crumbly texture to it, but I'm gonna see if this one will apply in the inner corner. You have to be super careful with this because if you dig your brush into it too hard, it will just kind of crack and break the shadow. Yeah, so I definitely think these aren't my favorite types of shimmer formulas. And then I'm gonna try one last shade. I'm gonna do this one here, and that one is one of the satiny kind of shades, and I'm gonna run that on the lower lash line. And the satin pretty much performed like I expected it to. I think that the satin shades might be my favorite type of formula for these. Okay, so that's gonna be it for the eyeshadow. Not my favorite look. I probably would have liked a, I wish the darkest color would have been a completely matte color, just because I don't like putting those types of colors in my crease if they've got shimmer to them. I might try just a tiny bit. I hope I don't regret this, just to kind of deepen it up a little bit. So I'm gonna finish off my eyes and come back and let you guys know what I think about it. So overall, what do I think about these shadows? Now, to be completely honest, I kind of bought this and I knew that I was probably not gonna like it, more than likely, because there's just not that many Korean eyeshadows that I have enjoyed. I'm not saying that there's not good ones out there. There definitely are. I just haven't found them yet and I haven't tried them. But a lot of the times I find with Korean eyeshadows, they tend to be a little bit more on the sheer side or like a light wash of color, and I think that's just due to a, you know, makeup culture difference. I think Western makeup, it's like super pigmented, really high intense coverage and stuff like that. And I feel like with Eastern makeup, sometimes it's a little bit more softer and subdued and more natural. So I don't really think it's necessarily like, oh, this is a bad product, but you just kind of have to take in those makeup culture differences. So as a person who is used to using a lot of really intense eyeshadows, I feel like you would probably be disappointed by this palette, or, you know, just a little underwhelmed. That's exactly how I felt whenever I was using this. I definitely think that the matte shadows and the satin colors were the better ones out of all the colors in this palette. As far as the two foily, shimmery shades that are quite honestly, like, they kind of steal the show when you're looking at the palette, but as far as how they perform, I'm definitely not really a huge fan of them at all. Now, I did use all three of those different textures today. The best texture of shadows in this palette, I would have to say, is probably the satin ones. Now, you're not really going to get a super shimmer look at all with those, and it's not going to be completely matte, so that's basically what a satin shadow is. And I found that those just performed a little bit better. They were definitely a lot more softer to the touch and they went on a little bit better. But as far as those two like metallic-y kind of looking shades, those were definitely my least favorite, which is upsetting because they are kind of like the star of the palette. Overall, I found that they had a very sheer base, which was kind of what I was expecting them to be like. And then they do have quite a bit of shimmer and sparkle to them, but there's not really a whole lot holding it together, and it tends to be a little bit more of a flaky texture. So I definitely did not like using a brush to apply those. I felt like they applied a lot better with the finger. However, they still just weren't my favorite type of shadow. I found that I ended up with a lot of fallout, especially from the glitter. I don't know if you can see it on my face, but in person I can see I've got a whole bunch of little shimmer glitter particles all over my under eyes. I've even tried to wipe it away and stuff, but there's only so much you can do. So it's almost more of like a flaky slash topper type of eyeshadow. So if you keep that in mind, then maybe your expectations won't be, you know, out of line. But if you're expecting like a super opaque, like wet foil metallic kind of eyeshadow, that's definitely not what you're gonna get with these eyeshadows. Overall, if I'd rank these, I would give these maybe like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 for the actual eyeshadows. And I'm not saying that they're bad eyeshadows. I think that you just have to be realistic with your expectations of what they are and whether those meet that or not. So just keep that in mind. If you like more of a subtle sheer wash of color type of products, I find that you probably would really enjoy this. But for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. And is it worth the $14 give or take that I paid for it? For me, it's not. I wouldn't pay $14 for this knowing what I know now. So unfortunately, I have to give this a bye-bye. But even though I didn't want to like prejudge the product, I was kind of afraid that that was what it was going to be like. However, they are really pretty colors, and of course, it's just all about your personal preference and honestly what your expectation of these shadows are. They're definitely not the worst Korean eyeshadows I've tried before. I've definitely tried some that are way, way worse, but as far as those like two metallic colors, I was definitely let down by those. Yeah, so overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, link is below. And until my next video, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.